My parents chose my abusive sister over me and kicked me out when I refused to pay her taxes, but now her rich husband left her, and she's broke. So I did this with her bailout money, and she went nuclear. I, female 32, have been debating for literal weeks whether to post this. I've been a lurker on this sub for years, but never thought I'd actually be posting my own story here. But honestly, I need some outside perspective because sometimes I still wonder if I'm crazy or if my family is just that toxic. So background, I'm the younger of two sisters. My older sister Kylie, female, 35, has basically been the golden child since before I can remember. I'm a financial advisor, worked my butt off to get here, put myself through college with minimal help from my parents. Meanwhile, Kylie has basically been getting bailed out of one disaster after another her entire life. Growing up, Kylie was, she was kind of awful to me. She would borrow, steal my stuff constantly, and my parents would just be like, "Sisters share," even when it was my birthday presents or things I saved up for. She spread rumors about me in high school that cost me my entire friend group junior year. She would accidentally spill drinks on my homework. One time when I was 14 and she was 17, she literally shoved me down the stairs during an argument, and my parents were just like, "Girls are so clumsy at that age." I mean, I could literally write a novel about all the crap she's pulled over the years, but you get the picture. Fast forward to more recent stuff. I had been living with my parents for about 18 months to save up for a house down payment. I know. Moving back in with your parents in your 30s isn't ideal, but housing prices are insane where I live, and I was trying to be financially responsible. My parents initially said I didn't need to pay rent, but I insisted on contributing to household expenses because I'm not a freeloader. Meanwhile, Kylie married Warren, male, 40, about 5 years ago. He's this super successful real estate developer who basically bankrolls her entire existence. They live in this massive house across town, and her Instagram is just constant posts about their exotic vacations and all the designer crap she buys. My boyfriend Kevin, male 34, has been trying to help me see how messed up my family dynamic is for the entire 3 years we've been together. He comes from this super healthy, normal family, and was basically horrified the first time he saw how my family acts. So anyway, about 2 months before everything blew up, we were having this family dinner. Everything was going fine until Kylie announced she had what she called a tiny tax issue that needed resolving. Turns out her tiny issue was $65,000 in back taxes and penalties because she had this undeclared side business selling luxury items online. During dinner, Kylie casually brought up her tax problem. When my dad asked how much it was, she said about $65,000 like it was nothing. Then my mom looked at me expectantly. I asked why everyone was looking at me, and Kylie said I was the financial wizard and suggested I could move some numbers around. I told her that would be tax fraud and I could lose my license and career. Then my dad suggested I loan Kylie the money from my house savings, the money I'd been saving for years and living with them to save faster. When I refused, Kylie started crying, saying family should help family. My mom comforted her while glaring at me. I pointed out that Warren has plenty of money, and Kylie admitted he didn't even know about the business or tax issue. The argument got worse until my dad was shouting that I was selfish for not helping my sister. Selfish. For not giving up my future home to bail my sister out of a problem she created by breaking the law. The argument basically continued for days. My parents kept insisting I should be the bigger person and help Kylie just this once, which, for the record, would have been like the 12th just this once situation since we've been adults. I'm not gonna lie, I actually considered it for a minute. I know how messed up that sounds, but when you've spent your whole life being told to put others first, it's hard to break the pattern. Kevin was basically horrified when I told him I was thinking about it. Anyway, things finally came to a head when my dad told me either help Kylie with the tax situation or move out immediately. I think part of me didn't believe they would actually follow through. I thought they were just trying to pressure me. I chose my integrity and financial future. I packed up some essential stuff that night while my mom cried in the kitchen without actually helping me, of course. When I came back from work the next day, they had changed the locks. I had to call Kevin to help me collect the rest of my belongings that weekend, while my parents literally supervised to make sure I didn't take anything that wasn't mine. That was almost 3 years ago, and I've had minimal contact with them since then. I see them at major family events where they act cordial but distant. Sometimes I still feel guilty, even though I know I made the right choice. Kevin and I have been living together since then. He's amazing and immediately offered his place when everything went down. It's just, sometimes I still question myself. Like, was I being selfish? Should I have just helped her one more time? My therapist says I'm still working through years of family conditioning and it's normal to question myself. But sometimes I just need outside perspective from people who don't know us. Edit. Wow. I didn't expect this to blow up. To answer some common questions. 1. Yes, I've thought about cutting contact completely, but there are extended family members I still want to see occasionally. It's complicated. 2. No, Kylie never paid the tax bill herself as far as I know. I suspect my parents ended up helping her somehow, but they've never admitted it. 3. Kevin and I are doing great. Actually got engaged 6 months ago. He's been my rock through all of this. 4. For those asking if my sister has always been this entitled, yes. This wasn't a one-time thing or out of character. This was just the final straw after decades of similar behavior. 5. And no, I don't think my parents will ever acknowledge how unfair they've been. In their minds, Kylie just needs more help, and I'm the strong, independent one who doesn't need them. Their actual words from our last big fight. Now for the first update. Wow, I honestly never expected my original post to get so much attention. Reading through all your comments actually helped me feel less crazy about the whole situation, so thank you for that. A lot has happened since then, and I've been debating whether to post an update because part of me just wants to move on from all this family drama. But recent events have me spiraling again, and I could use some outside perspective. So first, a quick life update. Kevin and I are doing really well. He proposed 6 months ago, and we've been slowly planning our wedding. My career has been going great too. I made partner at my financial advising firm last year, and we've finally started seriously house hunting. Life has been pretty stable and peaceful without all the family drama constantly hanging over me. Until last month, when I got a call from my mom, like out of nowhere. I literally stared at my phone for a good 30 seconds because I hadn't seen her name on my caller ID in almost 3 years, except for the obligatory, "We're doing Christmas at Aunt Dorothy's." My heart was pounding when I answered, because part of me thought something terrible must have happened. Well, something did happen, just not what I expected. My mom told me that Warren, my sister's husband, had filed for divorce. Apparently, he found out Kylie had been having multiple affairs, not just one, multiple, and had also been hiding financial stuff from him. My mom was being kind of vague about the details, but from what I gathered, Kylie had been spending crazy amounts of money behind Warren's back. And get this, the prenup that Kylie always complained about actually came through. She's only getting a tiny settlement, nowhere near enough to maintain the lifestyle she's gotten used to. So guess where she ended up? Back in our hometown, apparently devastated and in need of family support during this difficult time. I'll admit, part of me felt this twisted satisfaction that Kylie's actions finally had consequences. I mean, after watching her get bailed out of every mistake her entire life, seeing her actually face repercussions was, I don't even know how to describe it. But then I felt guilty for feeling that way because she is my sister, and family loyalty is hard to shake even after everything. For a brief, stupid moment, I thought maybe my mom's call was actually about reconciliation, like maybe they'd finally realized how unfairly they'd treated me. But nope, the actual reason for the call. We were hoping you could help your sister during this difficult time. I don't even remember what I said in response. I think I just laughed, which probably wasn't the most mature reaction, but I was literally in shock. After 3 years of barely speaking to me, that's what gets them to reach out. Anyway, I reluctantly agreed to meet them for lunch the next week. Kevin thought it was a bad idea, but I told him I at least wanted to hear what they had to say. Plus, I was honestly curious about the whole Kylie divorce situation. I know, I'm only human. When I saw my parents at the restaurant, I was honestly shocked by how much they'd aged. My dad looked gaunt. With this persistent cough he kept trying to hide, and my mom's hands were shaking slightly when she picked up her water glass. It was unsettling. After awkward small talk about the weather and half-hearted congratulations about my engagement, my dad casually mentioned they had helped Kylie out a bit after the divorce. I asked what a bit meant exactly, and my mom admitted they gave Kylie $50,000 from their retirement fund. I literally choked on my water, had a full-on coughing fit in the middle of Applebee's. $50,000 from their retirement. The same parents who kicked me out for not giving up my savings. My dad got all defensive, saying she had nowhere else to turn. And when I pointed out that Kylie could, get a job like literally everyone else, my mom said she was too fragile right now for regular employment. During this conversation, I noticed my dad had multiple pill bottles that he'd placed on the table next to him. When I asked about them, he reluctantly admitted he has a heart condition that developed last year. A heart condition. That requires expensive medication. So I asked the obvious question, how are they managing medical expenses after giving away their savings? My mom just waved her hand dismissively, saying, "We're fine," while very clearly not making eye contact. Then my dad changed the subject to ask about my fancy financial job. His words, with this weird tone that was half proud, half resentful. I don't know what came over me, but I offered to help organize their finances. Not to directly help Kylie, I made that very clear, but to help them figure out their situation. They exchanged this look before reluctantly agreeing. So a few days later, I went over to their house. First time in 3 years, by the way, which was weird. And they gave me access to their accounts and all their financial paperwork. Guys, it was a mess, like the kind of mess that makes me want to scream, because I literally do this for a living, and seeing people mismanage money this badly is physically painful. And that's when I discovered that Kylie had spent most of that $50 on a luxury SUV lease, designer clothes, and a vacation to clear her head. Not on housing and necessities like my parents thought. They genuinely believed she was using the money to get back on her feet, with an apartment and basic living expenses. But it gets worse. While organizing their paperwork, I found evidence of multiple additional withdrawals to Kylie beyond the initial $50, totaling another $15,000 over just 2 months. $15,000. My dad is skipping doses of his heart medication to save money. I found out because the refill dates didn't match up with the prescription schedule. While Kylie is posting Instagram stories from spa days. I was about to confront them about this when I found an email about them planning to give Kylie another $30,000 for some vague business opportunity. This would literally deplete their critical medical funds, and they were discussing taking out a home equity loan to cover future expenses. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Like, my hands were actually shaking. They kicked me out of their house for not giving up my savings, but they're willing to risk their home and my dad's health for Kylie's business opportunity that was so vague they couldn't even explain what it was in the email. When I confronted them, they got defensive immediately. My dad said she's just going through a rough patch, and my mom had the audacity to say, "You've always been jealous of your sister." Jealous of what exactly? Her failed marriage, her inability to support herself at 35, the fact that she's bleeding our parents dry. I couldn't even respond. I packed up my stuff and left without resolving anything. I was so upset I could barely see straight driving home. Kevin thinks I should just walk away and let them make their own mistakes, but I'm genuinely worried about my parents' financial stability. My dad needs his medication, and they're one major expense away from financial disaster. I called my Aunt Dorothy, my mom's sister, yesterday, and apparently Kylie has been telling the entire extended family that I abandoned them over a minor disagreement and that I refuse to help my parents despite their health issues. The audacity. I haven't been invited to multiple family gatherings over the past years because of these lies. I'm at a complete loss. I want to help my parents because despite everything, I do love them and I'm worried about my dad's health. But I can't support them if it means enabling Kylie's exploitation. And they've made it pretty clear they'll always choose her over me anyway. I honestly don't know what to do. How do you help people who don't want to be helped? How do I protect my parents from themselves? Edit. Since a lot of people are asking, yes, I did try to talk to my parents about setting boundaries with Kylie. Their response was basically that I don't understand how hard things have been for her and that I should be more compassionate. Apparently going through a divorce that was 100% caused by her own actions is harder than being kicked out of your home and cut off by your family for 3 years. Edit 2. To address some other common questions. 1. No, my parents have not apologized for kicking me out 3 years ago. They act like it was just a miscommunication and not them literally changing the locks on me. 2. Yes, Kevin and I are still planning our wedding, though we're keeping it small. My parents know we're engaged but haven't mentioned anything about the wedding at all. 3. I do have access to their financial accounts now because they gave it to me to help organize things, but I don't have any legal authority to prevent them from making terrible decisions. 4. For those suggesting I just cut contact completely, I've tried that for 3 years and somehow still got pulled back in. Family stuff is complicated. Edit 3. Some people have asked what kind of business opportunity Kylie is proposing. From the vague details I've seen, it sounds like some kind of luxury personal shopping service, which makes zero sense because she has no business experience, no connections in that industry, and no actual plan beyond people will pay me to shop for them because I have good taste. I wish I was making this up. Edit 4. Thank you for all the supportive comments. I was honestly expecting to get torn apart for not just telling my parents to figure it out themselves. I'm going to talk to a lawyer friend about options for protecting financially vulnerable parents without overstepping boundaries. We'll update if anything significant happens. Now for the second update. So it's been about 2 weeks since my last post, and wow, has a lot happened. First, thank you to everyone who commented with advice and support. I was honestly feeling so crazy, and my family made me doubt myself, but reading your comments helped me feel like I wasn't completely losing my mind. A lot of you suggested I just walk away and let my parents make their own mistakes, and honestly, that was my initial plan too. Kevin was definitely on the just walk away team, but I just couldn't get my dad's medical situation out of my head. He's skipping heart medication to fund my sister's shopping sprees, so I spent a few days thinking about what to do, feeling stuck because, well, these are still my parents, you know. Despite everything, I ended up calling my lawyer friend Jen to see what options I might have. I brought along this massive folder of all their financial documents that I had collected while organizing their accounts. I'm talking bank statements, medical bills, mortgage paperwork, everything. Jen looked through it all and was basically horrified at how bad their financial situation was. And then she found something big. 3 years ago, right before all the drama with Kylie's tax stuff went down, my dad had bypass surgery. What I had completely forgotten was that during his recovery, my parents had signed a financial power of attorney naming me as their financial agent. They gave me legal authority to manage their finances if necessary. We all forgot about this document. My parents never revoked it even after kicking me out, probably because they completely forgot it existed. And honestly, I had forgotten too. It was from a completely different time in our relationship when they still trusted me and saw me as the responsible one. Jen explained that this document was still completely valid and legally binding. Basically, I had the legal right to step in and protect their finances if I believed they were being exploited or making decisions that threatened their well-being. I was shocked. Having this kind of power over my parents' finances felt weird, scary. I don't know, it was a lot to process. While I was wrestling with what to do, I got a call from my cousin Casey, who had heard about the whole situation. He told me something that made my decision a lot clearer. Kylie had been bragging to him about using the business opportunity money for a down payment on a luxury condo in this super expensive neighborhood. Not for any actual business. She was just lying to my parents about needing startup funds. Side note, Casey and Kylie have always been close, and I think she just assumed he would keep her secret. But Casey has always been cool with me, and I guess he finally got fed up with her BS too. So now I had this big moral dilemma. On one hand, I had the legal authority to step in and protect my parents from themselves. On the other hand, using that authority against their wishes felt wrong. Like, I literally do financial advising for a living, and one of the first things they drill into us in ethics training is client autonomy and respecting people's right to make their own decisions, even bad ones. I was honestly leaning toward not doing anything. Like maybe just giving my parents the information about Kylie's real plans and letting them decide. But then Aunt Dorothy called me. She was in tears, saying she had just visited my parents, and my dad had admitted he'd been skipping doses of his heart medication because they couldn't afford the refills. He was prioritizing Kylie's needs over his own health. I drove to the bank the next morning and used the power of attorney to access their accounts. I transferred the $30,000 they were planning to give Kylie into a secure account they couldn't touch. Then I paid all their overdue mortgage payments and medical bills, about $14,000, set up a trust for their ongoing medical expenses, another $14,000, put the remaining $2,000 back in their checking account. I documented everything. Like, I made copies of every single transaction, wrote down detailed explanations of where every dollar went, and made sure everything was completely above board. Then I sent them a letter explaining exactly what I had done and why, including copies of all the receipts and documentation. I felt, I don't even know how to describe it, guilty, but also like righteous. Like, I knew they would be furious with me, but I also knew with absolute certainty that I was doing the right thing. And honestly, after years of feeling powerless in my family dynamics, there was something weirdly satisfying about finally taking control of a situation. Is that terrible of me? Probably. For 2 days, I heard nothing from my parents. I actually started to think maybe they had understood my reasoning and accepted what I'd done. I mean, they couldn't possibly argue that paying their mortgage and medical bills was a bad use of their money, right? Oh, how naive I was. On the 3rd day, Kylie showed up at my workplace, my professional office where I advise clients. She was screaming about how I had stolen her money and demanding to see me. Security had to physically escort her out while she yelled about calling the police. When I got home that evening, our building manager pulled me aside to show me security footage of Kylie trying to force her way into our apartment earlier that day. She was literally kicking our door repeatedly before giving up. Kevin immediately called a locksmith to change our locks just in case she somehow had a key. Then came the barrage of texts and social media posts. Kylie was telling everyone that I had stolen from our dying parents and was jealous of her beauty and success. Lol at that one. She even created fake reviews on Google and Yelp, claiming I had given her terrible financial advice that ruined her life, which I had to contact the platforms to get removed because it was affecting my professional reputation. My parents were also furious. My mom called crying about how they had promised that money to Kylie, and my dad said I was dead to him if I didn't reverse the transactions immediately. That hurt more than I expected it to, but the worst part was still to come. Kylie actually filed a police report claiming I had stolen from our parents. It was quickly dismissed once I showed the officer the power of attorney document, but it was still humiliating and stressful. After that, Aunt Dorothy decided enough was enough. She arranged an emergency family meeting at her house with my parents, Kylie, me, and Kevin all present. She said she was worried about my dad's health and the stability of the family and thought we needed to clear the air. It was intense. As soon as we all sat down, Kylie immediately started accusing me of stealing my money. Not our parents' money, her money. That slip was pretty telling. I tried to stay calm and explained exactly how every dollar had been spent on our parents' needs. I had brought another copy of all the documentation to show everyone. My dad claimed they had been managing fine without my interference. That's when I pulled out the folder of overdue bills and medical notices I had found while organizing their finances. My mom looked so embarrassed when I showed evidence of 3 missed mortgage payments. Kylie kept shouting that she needed that money more for her fresh start. Kevin very calmly asked what business she was planning to start. She couldn't answer. She stumbled over her words before finally admitting there was no actual business plan. My dad looked confused. He said she had told them she had a solid business opportunity. And that's when Kylie's whole story started to unravel. She finally admitted the money was for a condo down payment. I mentioned that Casey had already told me about the luxury condo she was looking at, and she lost it. She grabbed a decorative vase from Aunt Dorothy's side table and threw it. It narrowly missed my mom and shattered against the wall. Then she started screaming about how everyone always loved Leah more, which is literally the opposite of reality given my entire childhood and them kicking me out for not giving her money. That's when my dad clutched his chest and started having trouble breathing. He wasn't having a full heart attack, thank God, but he was definitely having some kind of cardiac episode. Dorothy called an ambulance while Kylie continued to rant about being the victim in all this. She was accusing our parents of never helping her enough, while my dad was having heart problems and paramedics were being called. Like, who does that? The paramedics took my dad to the hospital. It wasn't a major heart attack, but they kept him overnight for observation. And honestly, that hospital stay might have been the best thing that could have happened. The cardiologist and a hospital social worker had some really frank discussions with my parents about stress and financial management. Something about hearing it from medical professionals finally seemed to get through to them. The doctor told my dad that the family stress was directly contributing to his heart problems and that they needed to make significant lifestyle changes. I think that was when my parents finally started to recognize their enabling patterns. Seeing the evidence of what Kylie had really planned to do with the money, combined with medical professionals connecting my dad's health directly to the family stress, it was like something finally clicked. They agreed to keep the trust arrangement I had set up, with me managing their medical expenses. We've started having weekly dinners where we're slowly, awkwardly addressing the years of favoritism and enabling behavior. It's not perfect by any means. There are a lot of tears and uncomfortable silences, but it's progress. Kylie has refused therapy and family counseling. She's still blaming me for everything, but my parents are finally setting some boundaries with her. They're not cutting her off completely, but they've made it clear they won't be giving her any more money. I'm trying to maintain my own boundaries while helping my parents recover financially. Kevin has been amazing through all of this, but we've decided to postpone our wedding plans until the family situation stabilizes a bit more. There's still a lot of unresolved tension, especially at extended family gatherings. Some relatives believe Kylie's version of events, while others have seen enough of her behavior over the years to know better. I honestly don't know if my relationship with my parents will ever be fully repaired. There's so much history there and so many patterns to break. But for now, I'm hopeful that we're at least moving in the right direction. And as for Kylie, well, she's 35 years old. At some point, she's going to have to learn that actions have consequences. I just hope it doesn't take another divorce or financial disaster for that lesson to sink in. Edit. A lot of people are asking if I could get in legal trouble for using the POA. According to my lawyer friend, no. The document was still valid, and I used the money for their benefit, paying their bills and securing their medical care, not for myself. I kept meticulous records of everything specifically to protect myself legally. Edit 2. For those asking about my parents' reaction to finding out Kylie was lying about the business, they were shocked at first, then went through this weird phase of making excuses for her. She probably thought we wouldn't understand her need for stable housing, etc. It's frustrating, but the enabling patterns run deep. At least they're not giving her more money. Edit 3. Yes, I've considered therapy for myself through all this. I've actually been seeing a therapist for about 2 years now, and it's been incredibly helpful for recognizing toxic patterns and setting boundaries. Kevin and I have also done a few couples sessions just to make sure we're on the same page about handling family stuff. Edit 4. To the person who asked if this was the first time Kylie has gotten violent, unfortunately no. There have been incidents throughout our lives, like the pushing me down the stairs thing I mentioned in my first post, but my parents always minimized or excused her behavior. The vase throwing was just the first time they couldn't ignore it because 1, it happened in front of multiple witnesses, and 2, it directly preceded my dad's health scare. Edit 5. Wow, I didn't expect this post to blow up again. Thank you for all the supportive comments. For those asking for another update in the future, I hope things will be boring enough that I won't have anything dramatic to report. But I'll consider posting again if there are significant developments.